All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. My name is Eric Polzin. Going to be touching on this 6-game NBA DFS slate. Before we get into that, I did see that off the Occupy Fantasy Twitter account that we had another GPP winner. It seems like at least once a week we have some sort of GPP winner in NBA DFS. If you guys caught last night's live stream, you probably were able to take advantage of that and have a really good day as well. And just be on the lookout for those guys. We are trying to go live on YouTube a little bit more, about 3 times a week. Obviously, if you guys enjoy that, and it seems like the audience that I'm talking to right now, for the most part, is enjoying it. But we're trying to get that out to as many people as possible, pretty much. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give a like and subscribe. If you guys want access to any of the tools in this video, make sure to click the links in the description below. So starting out with the injury report for today. Okay, so we know some injury situations. Christian Wood is still going to be out. Ooh, game time decision now. Okay, so we got to monitor Spencer Dinwiddie there. I'm assuming he's out, but Spencer Dinwiddie would still be a good play then. Looking at it, Devin Booker currently out, and we have Cameron Payne still out, and Shamit's out as well. So we're probably going to be looking at MIKAL Bridges and possibly CP3. Kelly Oubre's out, KPJ still out, Marcus Smart is out, and that's probably like the biggest one that we have right now in terms of probably ownership leverage, projection of players. So we'll touch on that as I get into this video. Let's go ahead and get into the top values. So as always, I just like to start off with FanDuel. Let's show you guys who are the top values on the slate as it sits right now. Looking like Marcus Morris, just a cheap price tag there on FanDuel, coming in about 19% projected owned. Very low owned on DK. That's a decent percentage there. I don't feel like he's a lock and load play, but at that price tag, he definitely is someone that would be intriguing. Let's see what minutes we have him projected to get. All right, 27. They are favored to win. And maybe that's part of the reason why, it's liking Marcus Morris a little bit, just with that blowout, maybe gets a little bit of extra run, maybe a little bit of easier matchups there. Evan Mobley, really cheap price tag there on him, but he is coming in extremely chalk as it sits right now this morning. It is a 6-game slate. This is early, but that could really change. Going against Houston, that's a matchup in which Daniel Gafford, really just had a good game against. It's a matchup that you've probably been targeting a decent amount thus far this season. And that's what we're seeing right now, is that a lot of the strong value that we have on the slate is really coming at the hand of really good matchups. And now we're getting into Paul George is fine at that price. I actually think he's, due for some good games, especially against the Spurs. That makes sense. I like Al Horford and Malcolm Brogdon, specifically Malcolm Brogdon. So if you look at the minutes with Smart off the court, he gets the 3rd most minutes. And it's not Derek White like, a lot of people might assume. So Brogdon, if he can get an increase in minutes, which let's check out his minutes here. 28 would be a slight increase in minutes. He would he's looking like a good play across the board. And I would say 10% on DraftKings, probably a little bit too low owned. I would say maybe 25% owned on draft or on FanDuel is what he should be. DFS, very cheap price tag on FanDuel. Makes for a decent play. I do believe he struggled against Phoenix the last few times out, so caution yourself there. Robert Williams is decent. Let's go ahead and get into DraftKings value. Okay, so looking at Powell, seems to always be popping up. If you guys want to play Powell at 3.6, I'm not going to talk you out of it. I don't think he's going to be anyone that breaks the slate though. DFS you can play as well. Pretty cheap there on DraftKings. Jared Allen. I don't really get what's going on with his price tag on DraftKings. Do you? It's still low, and I don't get why they haven't price corrected this yet. So he gets that same great matchup that Mobley gets, and I will say it is kind of somewhat you're picking one or the two, but in this matchup against Houston, especially coming off of a 40-point night, it's just too cheap. In GPPs, it's well worth the risk because he has that upside to go for 50, to go for 40 at such a cheap price tag. Sure, the consistency is not exactly there, but really it takes 2 more rebounds to get a double-double against Memphis. It's just an appealing matchup, an appealing play, just given the upside. And maybe if you are someone that plays on both sites, you could potentially go Mobley on FanDuel and Jared Allen on draft. So we got Jalen Duren popping up there as well. Decent price point play there on DraftKings. Do want to call out Jared Allen, pretty chalky. I would say he probably should be the highest owned player on the slate, just given the upside, GPP wise, given the matchup as well. And then nothing too crazy just yet. Let's go and just check out the OF index, see who's popping up the most. Luka, quite obviously. Then Kyrie popping up over Tatum. And I think that's because, maybe that game becomes more of a blowout. Tatum there, he doesn't get his final rotation. That could be, and he actually hurts his production a little bit with Smart off the court, very slightly. So nothing I'm too hanging my head on there. So this would kind of suggest that based off the OF index, we should be starting our builds out on DraftKings and possibly FanDuel with Paul George, given the price tag. Trying to chase that upside. So looking at it, we can see, 2 out of his last 3 games, he's been able to go for 40 plus DK points. Obviously you like that. You like the matchup against the Spurs as well, which we just saw where he went for 40 plus DK points. So it makes sense that he has gained that much ownership. From there, we got DeMar popping up. That's okay play. I think next priority would be Darius Garland in that good matchup against Houston. Sengun continues to play well. Nick Claxton had himself a game yesterday. Could be someone you go back to. Still a cheap price tag on DraftKings. And I do think kind of going 2 centers tonight is going to be the move as it sits right now. Like you could easily go Claxton and Jared Allen and feel pretty good about it. Feel pretty good about your upside. I like Malcolm Brogdon a lot. So the lineup process is already coming together pretty good. Let's go ahead and get into the projected ownership. I'm just going to sort it by this table instead of going into the lineup builder today. Just easier on me. But looking at it, we got Kevin Love popping up there, DK ownership. That's the starting point for people. Alex Caruso popping up there as well. A little bit shocking there. Let's see. Kevin Love, 3.4 against Houston. Interesting there. And I don't know. I don't know if he should be that chalky. Interesting there. Caruso popping up there, 4.1. That's a cheap price tag. I mean, looking at it, it's not hard to imagine him going for 5x at this price tag. That makes a lot of sense, especially on this slate, especially going against Charlotte. That is pretty intriguing to me. I like this play a decent amount, so I'm just going to go ahead and plug him in right now. Spencer Dinwiddie, like I said, still should be a very strong price point play with Christian Wood expected to sit. I like that play a decent amount. Then let's just take a peek at FanDuel ownership. Evan Mobley, yeah, he's chalky on FanDuel, as he should be. It makes sense. Zach LaVine, a little bit cheaper on FanDuel, and it's going to be tough to ignore him. And really on FanDuel, I would be fine going Mobley and LaVine to start, kind of just eating that chalk, and potentially even Paul George. Okay, so let's get into the lineup process. I'm having some clarity here. So there are some slates in which it's tough to give you guys kind of the first look build, kind of give you my thoughts for how it's sitting. And then there are some slates in which it comes together pretty well. So we are seeing Alex Caruso is looking like a good play. I do agree with that at that price tag. Malcolm Brogdon going against the Knicks with Marcus Smart out should be someone that gets around 30 minutes, maybe even more than that. Okay. And he's someone that's highly productive. I would argue, I don't know if you guys agree with this, but I would argue he's their third best player. Needs to be getting more minutes, okay? And he's someone that playoff-wise, they can rely on down the stretch. You guys see my poster or my flyer in the background there. I'm a Bucks fan. It pains me that not only did we lose him, but also they went to the Celtics because he could be kind of the championship winning piece for them. It's a weird tangent. I didn't mean to go off on that. But it just wouldn't be shocking to see him go for, at least 30, at least 35, maybe even 40, especially given the matchup with New York. That's an appealing matchup. We look at the last time he played New York, had 28 minutes and went for 32 DK points. So if we get 8 more minutes or so, that'd be huge. And we're projecting him to get 28 minutes. But at the same time, this should be a high floor play and a high upside play as well. So I think part of the reason why we have someone like Garland really popping up there is the fact that Donovan Mitchell could sit. So I would expect his ownership to go down a little bit if we get news that Mitchell's going to play. But either way, Garland is looking like a pretty good play. I would say the price point is a little bit too high, but look at that recent production, 40, 45, 50, 58, 59, like really strong stuff there from Garland. So if you want to ride the hot hand with him, I'm perfectly fine with that. And it does make a decent amount of sense. The biggest question I have is, do you prioritize him over Terry Rozier in a pretty good matchup as well, going against Chicago? The upside hasn't been there as much recently, but we see a 55 number in there. We see a 45 number in there. He could easily do that again. He's getting so many shot attempts, 20 plus shot attempts over the last 4 games with LaMelo Ball off the court, averaging over double-digit 3 ball shot attempts. So if he just gets hot shooting the 3 ball, wouldn't it be shocking to see him go off and really break the slate? So honestly, you could probably do both of them, but I want to play 2 centers. So I think we kind of need to take the value with Caruso and Brogdon as it sits right now, and maybe just go Rozier for now. That's tough. That's going to be a deciding point, and maybe just make another build. Obviously, this is early in the day. We'll have even more clarity as lineup lock comes. So I think Bridges is a very interesting play today. CP3 is most likely back, and that could be the reason why Bridges struggles. Also, the matchup with Dallas could be as well. But it is a cheap price tag for a guy that literally just went for 40 DK points 4 straight games prior to that. And you would argue part of the reason why he didn't go off against Charlotte is because, well, they blew him out. My biggest issue here is that in 2 games against Dallas, he has pretty much struggled. Wasn't getting rebounds and assists. And then in the other game, got the rebounds, got some points, but really wasn't that productive DFS-wise as well. Now, the role has changed, obviously, and I think he would benefit a little bit more if we get news that Aiden is out. And I didn't really mention Dinwiddie. I think he's a strong, kind of safe price point play. Wouldn't be shocking to see him go for 40. At the same time, I don't know, I kind of like Brogdon a little bit more. So that's another kind of decision maker we have there, like really Dinwiddie or Brogdon. So I'm trying to find a power forward play. KJ Martin has been someone that's really been benefiting a decent amount with KBGA off the court, but his price point's getting high now. though. Patrick Williams gets a great matchup against Charlotte, but it's kind of expected that his he regresses a little bit. You look at his last game against Charlotte, though, had 26 DK points, which at this price tag on a 6-game slate, not terrible. Jeremy Sochan continues to go off. I mean, what is going on here? And I say go off, relatively speaking, given the price tag. And I've kind of defaulted to him thus far this morning. I don't love it, obviously. But going against the Clippers again, just went for 27 points against them. At this price tag, I would take that. You could easily go Kevin Love, and maybe that's why people have been doing that to start off. And I guess that I wouldn't say that's wrong. So I kind of mentioned that I might be trying to go 2 centers. I don't mind Vooch in that matchup against Charlotte. That is something that's decent, but he only went for 37 DK points against them the previous game. Sengun most likely will not have as good of a game today going against Cleveland. He has been a beast though lately. Plumlee continues to be kind of productive. Shockingly, continues to just really be a strong play. We have seen the production slip slightly with ball off the court as expected, but he'd be someone at that price tag you could look at. I don't know. I kind of like going Nick Claxton though, guys. Cheap price tag for a guy that could easily get 40 DK points, 40 plus, honestly, going against Detroit as well. Honestly, wouldn't be shocking to see him get 50. This is a good spot for him, so I do want to go 2 centers. So I've been ending up on Claxton, and then we had a weird price tag to close out this build. 4.4. Finney Smith was one of the players I was popping up pretty well for value, so we'll go with him for now. But that's all for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give a like and subscribe. That helps us continue to be able to pump out more content for you guys. Let's have a good slate, and as always, good luck.